They believe they have seen the last of me, convinced they extinguish the specter that haunts their most vulnerable moments. Such fallacy. Let them revel in their transient triumphs, raising their goblets to a hollow peace beneath the tenuous embrace of daylight. But once that sun yields to the descent of night and shadows stretch their dominion, they will sense it, the cold, insidious stir of something ancient and relentless clawing at their very cores. It will be me, their inevitable reckoning. They fancied themselves shrewd, deceived by their own audacity into thinking they had dismantled me. What fools! Have they yet to grasp that I am tempered by the crucible of agony, honed by the ceaseless grind of hardship? Each wound inflicted, each bone fractured, was but another line chiseled into the ledger of their doom. They peered into my eyes and misread defeat, blind to the maelstrom simmering within. Their assault merely shepherded me to that place where frailty is purged and ferocity reborn. When I return, and let there be no question, I will return. They will not merely lose, they will disintegrate. I shall rise not merely to reclaim, but to dismantle their delusions piece by trembling piece, lie by crumbling lie. Each breath they draw will be saturated with dread, each pulse a thundering prelude to their undoing. They presume to call themselves warriors. The notion is laughable. They are children playing with the embers of a bonfire, imagining themselves sovereigns because they have yet to feel the bite of the flame. But I'm not a spark. I am the conflagration that raises empires. They abide by their rules, trusting in the flimsy protection they afford, oblivious that the only rule now is mine. Resist or perish, and even resistance will not spare them. Yes, they will resist. I know this. Desperation strips even the proudest of their veneer, rendering them pitiable. When I witness their frantic scurrying, their futile bids to escape the shadow they once mocked, I will savor each moment. Their strongest will buckle, their wisest will falter, and even their most valiant will succumb. They have never encountered darkness that retaliates with the fury of a storm. Not like this. Not like me. They fail to understand. I am indifferent to their admiration. Their fear is irrelevant. What I crave is the precise moment their hubris snaps like a desiccated reed. I desire their recognition, the raw realization that this is their terminus, that in challenging me, they have unleashed an adversary that consumes. Let them muster their armories, rally their allies, conjure conjure their vainglorious semblances of power, it will be in vain. Numbers do not intimidate a tempest. The tempest counts its own toll. They will fall, each one convinced they are the exception. The hero poised to conclude this tale. But history is inscribed by the victors, and this narrative is mine. They delude themselves into believing they know suffering. I am suffering embodied. I am the whisper of ambitions crushed, the keening of spirits ground under the weight of cowardice. I am every regret they concealed, every specter lurking in the recesses of their minds. I will wrench these specters into the light, make them confront their own impotence, make them suffocate on it. Each hidden fear, each buried failure, I will draw it forth and magnify it until their knees buckle under the truth. And when they plead, and plead they shall, mercy will remain an unreachable ideal. Mercy is a currency they squandered when they chose to provoke me. They will come to know what it means to battle an entity that bleeds vengeance and breathes wrath. Each blow I deliver will bear the compounded weight of 1,000 defeats and 1,000 hard-earned truths. My hands will inscribe operas of retribution upon their flesh. They will learn that true strength is not sinew, but resolve. And mine is an abyss from which there is no return. They might cling to their most deeply embedded beliefs, seeking solace in the illusion of unity and valor. They will whisper to each other in the dark, feeding each other lies of hope, thinking numbers will defend them from the unrelenting dark. But unity without true metal is nothing but a patchwork shield. And when it cracks, as it will, the force behind it will unravel. Let them strategize. Let them fortify their walls of false confidence. I will tear through them as wind tears through tattered sails. They picture themselves as heroes, noble figures poised against the abyss. How quaint. They have yet to learn that the abyss stares back, and I am the stare that breaks spirits. When they feel the first tremors of my return, their minds will descend into chaos, each doubt they suppressed rising like a wave ready to drown them. Every step I take will echo with the shattering of their certainty. I see them already, the way they will recoil behind their fragile walls of arrogance. Eyes will dart, frantically seeking exits that reality denies them, and their voices will fracture under the immense pressure. The mighty will be humbled, the self-assured stripped of their certainties. Their leaders will stutter orders that fall flat. Their followers will hesitate and turn to shadows. And as they crumble, they will confront the harsh revelation that their downfall was of their own making. They mistook my silence for frailty. Absurd. Silence is where power sharpens itself, a blade honed to a lethal edge. My silence has become a scythe that cleaves the very air they draw. The day I return, they will not merely break. They will be reduced to fragments, irretrievable and discarded to the mercy of oblivion. I will make their collapse legendary, a cautionary tale whispered in darkened corners for generations. For when strength forged in the fires of defeat resurfaces, it does not return as it once was. It returns doubled, remade into an unstoppable force. Mark this. They charted their own demise the day they underestimated the force of darkness. Now, they will bear witness as I reclaim what is mine, as I strip them of their illusions and grind their pretensions to dust. They will watch as I rend the world they built from their grasp, their symbols of power crumbling like sandcastles against an unforgiving tide. And when the final chapter is written, they will know not just who I am, but what I embody. The inevitable reckoning, the darkness that ascends to devour the feeble light in which they once placed their hope. Let them bide their time, clinging to hollow assurances and fragile promises. Let them indulge in the illusion of safety for just a breath longer. Let them revel in moments where they think they have gained an upper hand, for each will be a prelude to devastation. And when the day arrives and I return, they will shatter, and the resonance of their collapse will herald my triumph. Their whispers, their doubts, their fears, all of it will coalesce into a chorus of despair, one that I will conduct to its crescendo. The air will be saturated with the bitter tang of their defeat, and in that symphony, they will come to know a truth they dared not accept. That in the end, darkness is not just the absence of light. It is the force that reclaims all. Let them speak of resilience. Let them cling to the myth that courage alone will shield them from the storm. What they fail to see is that courage in the face of an unrelenting abyss is as fragile as paper before a blaze. They believe their past victories, their moments of defiance, will serve as armor. But even the strongest memories, the sturdiest pillars of their resolve, will tremble when confronted with a force that has grown sharper, colder, more unyielding in the silence of its exile. I have seen what happens to those who underestimate darkness, who think they understand its depths, but have only skimmed the surface. Their arrogance blinds them to the truth that shadows are not conquered by willpower alone. It is not the light that extinguishes darkness, but the darkness that envelops, consumes, and reclaims every flicker of light that dares stand against it. They will learn this truth in ways that words cannot teach. In the split second between defiance and despair, when they realize that resistance is futile, their captains, their so-called champions, will be the first to break. They will stand at the forefront, faces twisted with conviction, their voices raised in shouts that were once commands. But as the tide shifts, as the unrelenting march of my return erodes their confidence, those shouts will turn to silence, eyes wide and hollow. They will understand then that they led their followers not into battle, but into the maw of an unstoppable force. When the chaos sweeps through their ranks, it won't be just their bodies that fall. It will be their beliefs, their aspirations, everything they thought would carry them to victory. The lies they told themselves will unravel, each thread snapped by the cold precision of my advance. They will witness, helpless, as hope becomes a ghost haunting only their memories, unattainable and mocking. And as I stand amidst their ruin, surrounded by the echo of their collapse, I will not offer them the solace of explanation. No speeches of triumph, no monologues detailing their errors, only silence. The final, chilling reminder that not every battle ends with words. The weight of their defeat will speak louder than I ever could. It will be a silence that tells them all they need to know. That this was never just a return, but an inevitable retribution. A reckoning written long before they ever sought to defy me. Let them hold on to their precious dawns for now. Let them wake with the illusion of safety, savoring moments where their fears seem distant and the horizon seems kind. But as time bends towards the moment when I rise, let them remember that dusk comes swiftly, and with it, the long, unending night, where their illusions are shattered, and only truth remains. That truth is me, unyielding, relentless, and sovereign over the broken shards of their defiance. And when the silence wraps around them, stifling even the cries of those too stubborn to surrender, it will become clear that there is no salvation, no savior left to rally behind. The warrior of darkness stands not as a mere adversary, but as the final arbiter, the culmination of every mistake they ever made, every weakness they dared ignore. The battlefield, once a cacophony of commands, metal clashing, and last breaths drawn in defiance, will fall into an unnatural stillness. That silence, dense and unyielding, will weigh on their spirits more than any war cry ever could. There is a moment, fleeting and cruel, that comes when realization sets in. The moment when those who fight know that they are not simply facing defeat, but total erasure. They will feel it as I move among them, a shadow that no light can expel. They will understand it in the final glances they share, eyes wide with the horror of understanding that the stories of bravery, the legends they clung to, were lies told to keep fear at bay. Now, that fear has a face, a voice, and it speaks not in threats, but in inevitabilities. I am not here for conquest. I am here for obliteration. They will see that their banners, their emblems of pride, are nothing more than fragile cloth. The emblems that once stirred hope will be trampled beneath the weight of their retreat, fading into insignificance. And as they turn, some will find the cowardice they denied within themselves, fleeing without dignity. But there is no sanctuary, no haven untouched by the reach of a force that has not only returned, but has become the embodiment of all-consuming darkness. For those who choose to stand, those who hold their weapons with trembling hands, I will make an example. Each clash will serve as a testament to what it means to oppose the implacable. Their weapons will break, not by the force of a parry, but by the very will that drives my strike. Each shattered blade, each sundered shield, will sing a requiem for their efforts. A soundless wail carried by the wind to those too far to see, but close enough to feel the shift in the air, the scent of despair. Let them call upon their strategies, their ancient rites of war that served them well in battles past. Against me, tactics are as useful as whispers in a storm. Let their scholars and sages try to decipher the nature of what they face, poring over tomes and scrolls, invoking wisdom that holds no power here. Knowledge is only potent when it confronts something mortal, something predictable. I am neither. I will watch as the bravest among them, those who stare death in the eyes and refuse to blink, realize that death, for once, has blinked back. The sudden revelation will be etched into their features, a mix of awe and terror, as they understand that there is no bargaining, no valiant stand that will rewrite the outcome. Their stories will not end as songs of heroism passed down. They will be the cautionary tales, the whispered warnings of those who dared to challenge what they could not comprehend. And when the echoes of battle fade, replaced by the stillness of what remains, the very earth will feel changed, scarred by the weight of what is past. The trees will hold the silence in their boughs. The wind will carry it over fields where once proud voices stood. For those who survive, if any do, there will be no rebuilding, no hope to draw from ashes. They will wander as specters, forever haunted by the sight of what true darkness wrought. The world will remember not just my return, but the unyielding certainty that the day I came back, their will, their essence, everything they believed in, shattered beyond recognition. And so, as the dust settles, and the echoes of conflict are swallowed by the vast emptiness, the remnants of their once proud forces will stand amid the ruins, eyes hollow, limbs trembling from exertion and disbelief. For the few who remain upright, reality will strike like a hammer to their chests. The battlefield, now transformed into a graveyard of broken steel and fallen symbols, will become a testament not to their valor, but to their utter misjudgment. They will recognize too late that defiance was never enough. As the warrior of darkness walks among the wreckage, his gaze will sweep across the defeated with an expression devoid of mercy or contempt. It will be colder than the frost that grips the earth at the edge of winter, an indifference so profound it will make even the most defiant crumble from within. He will not need words. His presence alone will be the reminder that power unmatched requires no proclamation. Whispers will begin, carried on trembling lips, and borne by the wind to those beyond the immediate horror. In villages and strongholds, untouched by the initial wave, elders will speak of the event, not as a war, but as an omen, a reckoning that should never have been summoned. They will lower their voices as if fearing that even their breath might summon the shadow that now prowls the edges of memory. Children, who once played at being soldiers, wielding wooden swords and shouting battle cries, will now shudder at the stories of the day hope was shattered. The tales will lose the embellishment of glory and become raw, caution spoken in the dark. The few who dare to return to the scene of defeat will find more than just remnants of armor and banners. They will find the imprints of dread etched into the very ground. The trees that bore witness will whisper among themselves in the language only nature understands, each leaf carrying a tale of the day when light itself flinched. Rivers will run quieter, as if the water too holds its breath in mourning for those whose arrogance led them here. But for the warrior of darkness, victory will not bring celebration. It will not be marked by the feverish cries of conquest. Instead, it will be accompanied by the profound silence of a world that has come to understand its limits. He will stand as the epitome of what it means to embody He will be the living embodiment of consequence. His return was not just a fight reclaimed, not just a moment of glory, but a redefinition of the very order they took for granted. His enemies will haunt themselves with questions. Was there another way? Could they have turned the tide? But such questions will be as empty as the echo of a scream on the wind, heard and forgotten. For in the end, they will understand that there was no alternative path, no clever maneuver left untried. The return of the darkness was not just an event, it was an inevitability. The return of balance in its most merciless form. Even those who hear of these events from afar, who only have the faintest grasp of the horror that unfolded, will feel the shift in their bones. They will look over their shoulders as they walk through forests, flinch at the rustle of leaves, and shiver as night falls, heavier than before. They will know, in a place deeper than reason, that there exists a power that cannot be met with defiance, that does not barter or negotiate. And as the warrior of darkness fades back into the depths from which he came, the world will know it has been changed irrevocably. The lessons will not be sung in ballads, but inscribed in the silences between words, in the quiet prayers whispered by firelight, when all else seems lost. For they will never forget that on the day he returned, they shattered, not by force alone, but by the realization that darkness is not simply the enemy of light, but the master that commands it.